Hello and welcome to So You Think You Can Secure, Contain, and Protect. I'm your host, Dr. Sergio of the Anomalous Biology Division at the SCP Foundation. Together, we are joined by two very special guests, members of the O5 Council, Matthew and Kai. They have no social media because, of course, they run this place and they can't be having any of their information get out.
Greetings, everyone.
Hello.
Also with me is two members of the D class, Michael and Jake, who have survived many a rigorous test thus far.
Okay, hold on. Excuse me.
How the fuck
Why am I a Class D? I can understand Jake, but why am I Class D?
How did I get here?
682 thinks you're kind of tasty.
How did I get here?
Good question.
This isn't the Fortnite tournament.
Oh no.
What?
And from that introduction, we have some very interesting SCPs to read today. This is our Halloween special, so we have some very spooky ones prepared, and some also ones that aren't very spooky. I know I made a mandate, it's like we're only reading the spooky ones, but there are some good ones that are less than spooky, but they're still valid.
Okay, before we start, I would like to state my knowledge of SCP is the marijuana joint. That's the one I know.
Not even peanut.
It's the weed. And the peanut because the video game. That one game. What's it called? SCP Containment Breach?
Yes.
Also SCP RP on Gmod is kind of
You're
fun.
about to say Roblox, weren't you?
Yeah, I was, but no. It's fun because I get to harass people and put them in boxes with funny things.
That's valid.
Being that I think I have the most SCP knowledge out of everyone here, since I used to consume them like candy on a daily basis, I will fill you in on any terms and whatnot you may not know or understand. Just go,
Okay.
What does that mean?
Before we start, what's the difference between all of the object classes?
Okay.
Just so I know.
All right. So we use the box analogy for this. Okay. So there's safe. Safe is you put it in a box, you know exactly what it's gonna do. It's just gonna sit there. Euclid, spelled EUCLID, is you put it in a box, but you're not sure what exactly it's gonna do. And then Keter is that it is actively trying to break out of the box.
Oh.
There are a few other object classes, but those are the three main ones.
Like the eyeball. What's the fucking eyeball?
The loud eyeball?
The one that makes you look at it.
Oh.
I don't think I know that one.
I'd probably say Euclid.
The biggest thing to clarify, though, is the object classes do not actually designate how dangerous interacting with any of the SCP really are. Not directly, but a safe SCP could still kill you.
Yes.
Whereas a Keter class one might be harmless.
For example, if I was a man with the ability to phase through walls and I was locked in the Foundation because I can just phase out of my containment cell, I'd be a Keter.
Yes. Despite the fact he may never actually hurt anybody.
Yep. It's just like
that's a really good point.
Yeah, if they are actively trying to escape containment, then they are considered Keter. Otherwise, it's like I know what it does and it's contained, or it's I don't know what it will do while it's contained.
Well, 1 second.
Before we start, I would like to make the statement. Godzilla is coming to Fall Guys.
Awesome.
Yes, he is.
What the hecky?
I don't play Fall Guys, but I mean, that's kind of cool.
I played it a little bit. It's alright.
Yeah. Regardless.
Any Godzilla is good Godzilla.
Exactly.
My knowledge of Godzilla begins and ends at Michael's panel.
That's fair. So, to catch you up to speed on what the SCP Foundation is, Jake. The SCP Foundation is a fictional kind of, I guess, air quotes, semi-real, like it's an alternate universe fictional thing. And it started on 4chan, like all good things do. And slowly but surely, people were just adding and creating a ton of more
like
SCPs.
All good things do.
Yeah, so they started making more and more kind of air quotes discoveries on the for the SCP Foundation. You'll also notice that SCP-001 is one that doesn't have like a set canonical like kind of presence, and that's because SCP-001 is like such a big deal that they kind of wanted everyone to be able to pitch their own ideas, and whatever one you like the most is just whatever one is SCP-1 for you.
I would also like to point that because one has been such a varied thing, there are certain SCP-1 proposals that say they're all valid and they're all canon. The general consensus is that every SCP takes place in its own universe. However, there are canons and they do reference each other, so there's like mini things.
So
Yeah.
SCP canon and Power Rangers canon are the same thing. Well, SYTYCFanon.
Yeah, like it's the canons for SCP are just like their own kind of universe where certain things exist and certain things don't.
Yeah, I would say for the most part, I consider most SCPs to be in the same universe. There are
Yeah.
just by their nature couldn't exist with the other ones, but I generally regard everything as being canon.
I have an idea for an OC SCP, and I want your thoughts.
Okay, go ahead, pitch.
It's SCP-2077, and it's the video game Cyberpunk 2077, and it never comes out.
What's
That's
its object class?
What is its object class?
It's safe.
It's safe because it's never getting out.
Because they're gonna announce it's not safe. I'd say it's Euclid or Keter.
Yeah,
They're just gonna keep announcing stuff about it, and they're just gonna be like, you can get a prosthetic horse cock in Cyberpunk 2077. And are you gonna be able to live with that knowledge?
that sounds very familiar.
All right, shall we begin?
I think
Oh
we can
wait,
begin.
well, before we begin, I just want to tell Jake. You might also notice that there is one thing called Tales on the SCP library that is literally just fanfiction written in the SCP universe.
Okay.
All right, now you can begin.
Does everyone have SCP-4666 pulled up?
Let me pull it up.
Let me do that right now.
SCP-4666.
Yes. All right, so basically, everyone will read their own SCP, and when there is a log with dialogue, we'll of course assign voice actors.
It's just a little man. It's just a little man.
Dude, he just vibing out there.
All right, so we have SCP-466. Object class beater.
Oh no.
That's not what it says.
There's a K there.
Beater. All right, special containment procedures. Web traffic and law enforcement channels worldwide are to be monitored for evidence of SCP-466 activity, and particularly for cases of stalking or reports of anomalous phenomenon involving families with young children. Should a Weissnacht event be suspected in progress, the nearest containment task force is to be dispatched to attempt containment of SCP-466. Standard PDP-8 humanoid first contact product protocol apply. Media coverage or family deaths attributed to SCP-466 is suppressed, falsified to make said deaths appear as non-anomalous home invasion murders. Forensic evidence and SCP-466-A instances to be collected by non-Foundation agencies are to be confiscated and witnesses amnesticized.
I'm assuming that's just like wipe their fucking brain holes.
Yeah, the SCP Foundation has these drugs called amnestics, which give you amnesia of certain events.
Uh-huh.
So,
I'm assuming is this thing called the Weissnacht?
No.
No, the
What is a Weissnacht event?
we're gonna find out. Don't worry.
We're gonna find out.
Okay.
All right, so we also have a picture on this page of SCP-466, which appears to just be a man vibing outside some Christmas trees.
So I think it's more of a boy vibe, man.
He's just
Also,
standing out
also,
there
you're also, Serge, you're down to 6.
Huh?
You're down to 6. You forgot a 6.
Oh, 666.
Yeah.
Very important.
Well, I guess it is a man. I guess it's not a boy.
Yeah, it's definitely a man.
Jake, he's
2
just standing
meters.
there.
That's what 6.
Menacingly.
That's as tall as Minecraft Steve.
Yeah, that's about 6 feet.
That's like 6.5 feet. Because a meter is what, 3.3 feet?
That's a tall tree.
That's a tall boy. He's just vibing. He's Minecraft Steve.
Description: SCP-4666 is believed to be a single, exceptionally long-lived humanoid entity of unknown origin. Survivors of Weissnacht events typically describe 4666 as a very tall, between 2 meters and 2.3 meters, elderly male of European descent, with an extremely emaciated appearance. The entity always appears completely naked, even when observed outdoors in freezing weather. Though the nature and extent of its anomalous properties remain uncertain. Were you going to say something?
I was gonna say, do you think he's packing?
I don't
Of
want
course he is.
Dude, I've always loved
He's
to see it.
tall.
He's cock
He's
dick
tall.
balling.
You know what they say about guys with big feet?
Well, they didn't say how big his feet were. They said how tall he was.
They need big shoes.
That's true.
And boys with big shoes have big cocks.
What? No,
Anyway.
they have a lot. They have a lot of money to buy big shoes. You know how expensive size 13 Vans are. Jesus fucking Christ.
Damn you right. Damn you right. Damn you right.
Continue, Sergio.
466 appears capable of instantaneous or near instantaneous travel to any location north of 40 degrees north latitude, and possibly to any location on Earth. 466 activity occurs exclusively within a period of 12 consecutive nights every year, from the night of December 21st to 22nd to the night of January 1st to 2nd. This period is known as
hell yeah.
466's active phase. During this phase, what are termed Weissnacht events, 466 will appear at dwellings in one or more locations north of 40 degrees north latitude. In all known Weissnacht events, these dwellings have shared the following characteristics: isolated rural location, home to a family with at least one child under the age of 8, and situated in an area with snow cover lasting through the duration of the event. Weissnacht events consider the following general progression. Next 1 to 7. Children will report seeing 466 in the vicinity of the family's dwelling. The entity will typically be observed watching the dwelling from a distance, menacingly, such as from across a nearby field or from the edge of a neighboring forest. In some cases, children report waking up at night to find 466 watching them sleep through a window. 8 through 11. Family members, including the parents, will report hearing sounds of footsteps coming from the roof or the attic. An extremely unpleasant odor will also frequently be noticed inside the dwelling. No cause for these phenomena will be found. As a result, the parents will often begin to suspect that their family is being stalked or their dwelling might be haunted. Night 12. Over the course of the night, one of two scenarios will occur. First and most common is that 466 will kill all family members of the family except for one child under the age of 8 whom it will abduct. 466 will inflict incapacitating injuries to the family members while they're sleeping, then herd them into a single room of the dwelling where it will proceed to kill them in view of each other. The method of killing varies from the event, will typically be preceded by some form of torture, which appears to serve a ritualistic purpose. See Weissnacht events log below. In the second scenario, which occurred in roughly 15% of known Weissnacht events, 466 will not harm the family. Family members report hearing footsteps inside their dwelling during the night, though no signs of forced entry will be found. In the morning, children will discover presents at the foot of their beds. These will consist of toys crudely crafted from the remains of human children. See SCP-466A instances log below. Criteria, if any, by which 466 determines the outcome of Weissnacht events are unknown.
So is this just like Krampus, the SCP?
This is Krampus.
Okay.
Are we reading the access documents?
Being that there's a lot, I guess we can just kind of skim through them ourselves. Just taking a look.
There's a lot of things that have happened.
Oh, okay. It's just the access documents are just like entire family was killed with the exception of one who was abducted. And they died in funny ways, like balls
Having
stretching.
one limb pulled off by brute force and then stabbed precisely 39 times.
Headless
entire
bodies
family-
placed in their beds. I thought I saw dick and balls in one of them.
An entire family was killed.
Large
with the
pieces of skin removed from their backs, necks, and groins.
An entire family was killed with the exception of the youngest child who was abducted.
Did you? Damn, that's crazy.
And then
I was going to read the rest of it. Give me a second. Hold on. Following death, the family members' headless bodies have been carried to their respective rooms and placed on their beds. Each of the removed heads have also been placed upright on the step of the staircase leading from the first to the second floor, with the parents' heads on the top 2 steps and the children's head on the lower steps in decreasing order of age.
You know, I'm reading these toys. I'm reading these toys that they're giving out. I'd like a child femur flute. That'd be pretty based.
yeah, in
I'm
terms
sure
of
those
the
exist though.
I'll be super cool with
There's a drum made from tendons and child skin.
Yeah, but that's not a flute. Flutes make funny noise.
Made of human teeth.
A knife.
Where the fuck is Kazakhstan? You think I know where that is?
Middle East.
Well, no shit, Sherlock.
I like the one in Bangor, Michigan.
Banger.
Nice.
Banger. That's a banger. Certified banger.
Yeah, we got from our home state. Well, some of ours home state. 13 miniature human-like figurines made from the finger bones of human children, tied together with strips of human tendon. All right.
How the tendons stay alive though?
It's not.
It would rot. Why it not rotten?
Not for a little bit.
I'm starting to think that this might not be natural.
All right. So discovery: 466's existence and ongoing activity were first detected in 1974. The Foundation's newly implemented anomalous signature recognition program, when several highly similar home invasion incidents resulting in family deaths were found to occur throughout the Northern Hemisphere during the night of January 1st, 2nd.
How does it feel that all of these dead bodies were probably found on my birthday?
Damn, bro.
Continue.
Civilian and law enforcement
No, you continue.
archives worldwide were eventually discovered evidence of probable Weissnacht events for nearly every preceding year going back to the late 18th century. 3.1 known events per year. Numerous historical documents were also found to describe 466 activity occurring prior to this period, some cases earlier as 2nd century AD in Europe and Russia, as early as the 1st century in Scandinavia. 1st century BC. Fingerprints belonging to the same human entity have been discovered at the location of all Foundation investigated Weissnacht events. These have been matched to a partial fingerprint found preserved in dried blood from a 466A instance dating back from 1873. These fingerprints present characteristics not known to occur in human beings. What's the image? Human-like white hairs were also recovered from the locations of several Weissnacht events, though no DNA, human or otherwise, could be extracted from them. Addendum 46601. On February 1st, 2018, several 466A instances were discovered at a family's residence in Hoona, Alaska, following the conclusion of Weissnacht event 060198. Among these instances was SCP 466A 0960, which consisted of a crude, life-size doll made from the emaciated body of a female child, to which the following modifications had been made. A dress made from various pieces of dirty, discolored clothing had been sewn around the body in several places, including the body's skin. The mouth had been sewn shut with a thread made from human tendons. Krampus really likes tendons for some reason. And the lips painted red, with the solution consisted primarily of human blood. Fingernails of another child had been glued over the body's fingernails with pine resin. These had been painted red with the same blood-based solution. 3 of the fingers were missing. The entire scalp had been removed from the head, and the scalp of another child with long blonde hair had been sewn in the head in its place. The hair had been tied into 2 braids. Both eyes had been removed, and 2 large round pebbles on which eyes had been crudely painted on placed in the empty orbits. On examination by the family, the child for whom the doll had been made was found to be still alive, albeit unconscious. Authorities were notified, and the child was airlifted to Bartlett Regional Hospital in Juneau, Alaska, where she survived for 18 hours. 2 Foundation agents were dispatched and were able to interview the subject. See the interview log below. Following the subject's death, her body was confiscated by the agents, and all witnesses were anesthetized as per standard procedure. DNA testing from the subject had been Ekaterina Morozova, age 7. A known abduction victim of 466 taken from her family's residence in Dubovka, Russia, on February 1st, 2016. Autopsy of the subject's body showed that she'd been severely malnourished in the 2 years following her abduction, which resulted in considerable stunting. Weight was only 15 kilograms, height was only 90 centimeters. A number of scars and burns were present on her skin. She had suffered 2 bone fractures, left tibia and left ulna, that had not been reset and then healed improperly. Hands were heavily calloused. Cause of death was attributed to multiple organ failure resulting from severe sustained malnourishment. And then we have an audio log here. Who would like to be Agent Kowalczyk, and who would like to be the child?
I can be Antoni.
Who? Oh, the agent.
Who would like to play
Agent.
the child, who's EM?
I will be the child. Oh,
Thank you, Michael.
yeah,
Oh,
okay.
I think it'd be funny if Matt did it because he's Matt's playing a 7-year-old girl.
All right,
All right, begin log. Hello, I'm Antoni. What's your name?
Are you going to take me back to him?
No, I promise. I'm just here to talk to you. Why is he from Brooklyn? Okay. I'm from Brooklyn!
Hey, what talking here?
I'm just gonna talk to you.
Don't want to go back.
You don't have to. You're safe now, Mishka.
Remain silent.
Can you tell me what happened to you? Do you remember the night he came to your house?
I remember you hurt Mama and Papa and Kasia and Juliana for a long time and they were bleeding. After they stopped screaming, he put me in his bag.
His bag?
He had a big bag, big sack. Now I'm doing
Michael.
just gonna roll with it.
Big sack.
Your tongue.
Big sack.
Other children were in the bag too. I think we go to other houses. I hear people screaming outside the bag all during the night. Each house he put another child in the bag. Then after the night he take us away.
Where'd he take you?
Underground.
Unknown
my
word.
Deep.
Underground? You mean in a basement?
Deep. Everything earth and mud and ice. Bones everywhere. Everything cold. I can't sleep because it's too cold.
This agent reminds me of what's his name? The guy in the guy in SVU. Ice-T?
Yeah.
He reminds me of Ice-T in SVU. You mean he took you? You mean he kidnapped you? Like a monster? From your bed?
Stick?
Like Krampus?
Like Crampy Pampy?
Agent Kowalczyk, this is your 45th fucking job. How do you not expect this by now?
So what you're telling me is that we're dealing with an eldritch god from another universe or something?
You're telling me that he goes into kids' houses and he kills the family and kidnaps them like a evil Santa? Did you not read the file? Were there lots of other children there with you?
Lots of children. Lots of tunnels. Lots of holes. But I can't see it all. I can't see the other unknown word. Too dark. My hole is with Renee and Hekla and Sasha and Paul. We make the toys together.
The toys?
If you don't make the toys, you don't eat. Don't stop making toys, don't fall asleep, or he hurt you.
He hurt you? How?
He hit you, or burn you, or bite off your fingers, or he cook you on the fire in his room and eat you. He hit Felipe and Sally.
Rip Felipe, dude. What about you? How did this happen to you? Did he do this?
Renee and Hekla and Sasha and Paul do this. They have to.
Why?
I get sick when you can't make the toys, you become the toys.
I'll be right back. I need to go get the dog.
End log.
Sounds like Soviet Russia to me.
Man, I can't believe the agent had to go get the dog.
So what did you
It's
get?
very unprofessional to have the dog in the interview room.
I think it's pretty standard up until you get the description of what happened to the little girl. Then it really kicks in.
Yeah, not a big fan of the body horror. It's just not me. I'm not a. I have an upset stomach with that stuff, but I mean, it's kind of standard SCP sort of deal. It's spooky and it's got the spooky.
It's hecked up.
It's pretty hecked up, yeah. Now I'm just slowly turning more Brooklyn.
I liked this one. I liked, well, just Krampus being an SCP is cool. I like when they adapt, like authors like adapt like real things and make them SCPs.
Yeah, it's both the most original and the most strong stuff whenever they make it that way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm back. Sorry, stairs are a one-way gig for that, man.
What were your thoughts on Krampus, Jacob?
I like it. It's very Krampusy. I was like, what happened to the fucking kids? And then it's like, oh, he makes the toys out of the kids.
So Jake, would you say that this SCP didn't cramp your style?
Didn't cramp my style. No, it did not. All right. Who would like to go next?
Sergio, since you're the main man here, you can just kind of.
I think we should lighten up and check out Jake's SCP.
Yes.
Oh hell yeah! All right.
What is Jake?
So
I need a link.
I was given a list
Give me a link.
that Sergio posted. I'm pasting it in fanfic links. It is
That'd be
SCP-2137.
Also, this is the only SCP to have been written by a celebrity, I guess. It is written by Max Landis.
Who?
Huh.
I don't want to read it anymore.
It's
Who?
very good. Max Landis is he was a comic book
rapist.
writer. He is not a very
He's a rapist.
morally right person.
He's a rapist.
He wrote the Ruby Chronicle.
His dad killed Vietnamese children
okay.
with a
Oh.
helicopter. He
Okay.
crashed a helicopter into orphans.
Well, you,
and I
you
guess-
wanted to read this one specifically, Jake.
I didn't know that shit ass
Just
fucking
read
wrote
the
it.
damn thing.
I know, I'm just kidding, but shit ass. I just want to make a statement. Max Landis is a cuck.
But he is a very good writer.
He
Just
is
like
a
me.
very good writer, but he's a cuck, and his dad's a fucking schmuck who killed.
I like that they have this SCP
orphans.
on his bibliography. And
Anyways,
Really? Wow.
yeah.
it's a
All right, so
popular one. This is
this is 21
SCP-2137, Object Class Keter. Special Containment Procedures. When not being used, SCP-2137 is to be kept within a typical electronic 10-digit metal safe in the safe wing of Site-23. This,
I think we should mention that it was Euclid, but was reclassed to Keter.
yeah, this is sentence crossed out. It says all digital and wireless broadcast media must be kept at least 100 meters away from 2137. Due to 2137's anomalous effects having been determined to have no range limit, digital, wireless, and broadcast media may be used, but should be monitored closely for any appearance of SCP-2137-1 or 2. Other than the testing and recording of Trek 7, SCP-2137 should be considered an inanimate item without agency of its own. I couldn't read that for some reason. And any demands or threats made by SCP-2137-2 should be ignored. That is also crossed out. Once a week, 2137 is to be cleaned and all tracks should be played in succession with special attention paid to the instance of 2137-1 that replaces track 7. The names, situations, and anecdotes presented in that instance of SCP-2137-1 must be then reported to 2137 Special Committee. Pockwatch. Pockwatch.
Pockwatch.
On the rare occasion that non-Foundation organizations cannot address a situation presented in an instance of 2137-1, 059 is given authorization to activate MTF-339. Is that the Suge Knights or the Suge Knights?
I prefer the Sug Knights.
The
Those are
Sug,
like the Knights.
the Sug Nuts. To take any and all measures necessary to reach a resolution to the problem. Operational success will be indicated by a new instance of 2137-1. Personnel who wish to examine or attempt to interact with 2137 must ask Dr. Kievowitz for authorization beforehand, which will then pen 05 clearance. That's a lot of words. Okay. Description. SCP-2137 is a single compact disc copy of Me Against the World, a hip-hop album by the artist Tupac Shakur, released in 1995. Good year for music, fun fact. Physical examination as well as laser testing indicates the CD was one of the initial release, manufactured and distributed in 1995. Conventional testing of the disc itself reveals identical results to a non-anomalous copy of the album. The case and liner notes have been determined to have no anomalous qualities, and the physical makeup and encoding of the disc appear completely normal. However, upon playing Trek 7, normally heavy in the game, the listener will encounter an instance of SCP-2137-1. The anomaly takes the form of spontaneously generated, professionally produced songs featuring Tupac Shakur in various styles within the hip-hop genre. Though each instance of 2137-1 generated is unique, they share certain commonalities in terms of subject matter. The central focus of the song invariably addresses a crime, almost always a murder or series of murders, and then gives necessary anecdotal evidence or information to correctly identify and prosecute the killer, even going so far as to specify prosecutors or recommend vigilante justice. Hold on. Okay. The generation of SCP-2137-1 has been determined to have a definite casual nature. The manner in which 2137-1 incidents are copied onto 2137 have yet to be ascertained. Damn.
Tupac's a fucking ghost, dude.
Tupac's ghost is fucking Batman. SCP-2137-2. The primary voice in the songs from here and identified as 2137-2 matches cleanly through advanced audio analysis to that of the real Tupac Shakur, who died in 1996, over a year before the recovery of 2137. However, occasionally on crimes of a particularly complicated or brutal nature, 2137-2 will be joined by other performers, either guest rapping or singing the chorus or bridge. This has included many of Tupac's contemporaries, such as Snoop Doggy Dogg, Nas, No Doubt, Everclear, Weezer, and Busta Rhymes. I hate that Weezer is there. Why is Weezer there?
Why shouldn't Weezer be there?
Why is
Why weren't trying to solve
Because Weezer's like okay, they had music come out in '95, so I guess it's fine. But
what? Nothing.
as well as artists from the 2000s, including Chris Brown, Katy Perry, Lil Wayne, Lady Gaga, Rihanna, the Ying Yang Twins, Drake, Neon Trees, Jay-Z, Kanye West, and Eminem, usually at the height of their popularity. On a few notable occasions involving long unsolved crimes by still active criminals, there have been guests of a more blatantly anachronistic nature. Standouts among what?
Anachronistic.
And shut up, I can't read. Standouts among whom include Phil Harris, the Andrews Sisters, Frank Sinatra, Buddy Holly, The Who, Elvis Presley, Diana Rose, and the Beatles. Heavily say the word.
Anachronistic.
Anachronistic guests tend to take the role of primary artists. The song performed in their style, with 2137-2 joining as a rap guest. When contacted, none of these artists had any recollection of recordings for or information regarding 2137. The crimes themselves say that they are unsolved, or in some cases have escaped detection entirely. The majority of instances 2137-1 addresses crimes of private citizens such as serial killers, spree murderers, and career criminals. I'm fucking dying, dude. Occasionally, the song will address larger groups such as Hamas, ISIS, the IRA, and even two separate instances, the Chaos Insurgency and Church of the Broken God.
I will take a second to explain who those are. The Chaos Insurgency is like the anti-SCP Foundation. They're terrorists that use SCPs to commit terrorist acts. And the Church of the Broken God is like it says, a church that worships the Broken God, apocalyptic God-level SCP that is trying to destroy the world and is kind of like the Foundation's arch nemesis.
Neat.
A prototypical example of SCP-2137-1 is included here for reference.
Gotta read this, buddy.
You gotta wrap it.
I'm not rapping it. I'm so white.
No,
Jeff
you gotta
Rieger
rap
out here and still stalking the night, killed his brother and 5 strangers with the same damn knife. No, it's not my place to tell you what to do, but I know what I would do if I were you. He hid the blade in an old barn off the North 111. He's already got 6 dogs. Don't let him make 7. When the crimes have been addressed and the guilty parties brought to light, either by legal system or otherwise, SCP-2137 is immediately replaced by a new instance. However, the track is easily recorded through conventional means. Recorded versions are not subject to change or replacement, and the original can be replayed from the CD endlessly for the killers found, with little variation. With no crossed out. There are currently nearly 1,000 instances of 2137 on record. SCP-2137 was recovered in the home of Avon Lincoln, arrested for the vigilante slaying of Michael Ferris, who was later revealed to be the Ojai Slayer responsible for 6 murders over the summer of '96. Avon's instance that Tupac Shakur spoke to him from beyond the grave and told him that he would have to take justice into his own hands because Ferris' position as district attorney would prevent a fair trial, drew the attention of the Foundation agents after the song in question was produced as evidence in court. Amnestics were administered to all involved, and Lincoln was released back into the general population. Addendum 1A, the XK incident. I can't read. Okay?
Can we just
can't read.
instead of calling them addendums, can we just call them addenjigs?
Damn.
Big word 1A.
Oh.
The XK incident. Initially, researchers experimented with anonymously tipping off local police departments through Foundation plants, which led through the resolution of over
Redacted.
cold cases, including the recovery of SCP, SCP, and SCP-617. No direct link has been established other than the murders involved. However, after years of this use of the SCP was deemed impractical. Repeatedly addressing the crimes discussed in 2137's music was in practice, allowing the SCP to dictate the circumstances of its containment. And under the wrong circumstances, opened the Foundation to potential exposure through continuous interaction with law enforcement at all levels across multiple governments. In response to this, 059 ceased addressing the crimes in late 20. After 2 months passed, SCP-2137's behavior radically changed when, for the first time, an instance of 2137-1 was produced that 2137-2 had awareness of its containment. Excerpt. You
I
say
can
you're...
wrap it if you don't want to.
Okay, you can.
You said you were about security, but you ain't the good guys. You redact and expunge, man. You silence his lies. You say you're here to protect it. You're letting killers run free. Don't make me show you how rough this thug can be. Well, you can't contain the king, dog. Homie, you don't want to start the struggle. I suggest you change the tune unless you're looking for trouble. Maybe y'all should lay back and let me do my duty. Locked in my drawer, feeling like y'all trying to screw me. You're stepping up all up on my destiny. You may not believe I'm the real Pac. But I'm not just a CD.
Dude, this CD is threatening my life.
I remember reading this, and when I read that, I legitimately almost dropped my phone. I was like, oh shit, oh god, oh fuck.
Tupac is real and he's trying to fuck my wife.
Can't believe Tupac has gone on a spiritual crusade to
What if Tupac was real, dude?
Imagine coming home and watching a CD cuck you.
The decision was made to halt testing entirely rather than
Acquiesce.
acquiesce.
which means to concede.
Why didn't they use a better word? Fuck you, Max Landis. You're a cuck. Even if you made one of my favorite TV shows of all time, fuck you. After 1 week passed, an instance of 2137-1 appeared spontaneously on the YouTube channel of Los Angeles-based hip-hop station, Data Expunge. And in the lone hour before it was taken down, accrued over views. The XK scenario incident. The image displayed in the video is a still photograph, apparently authentic through its nature, highly anomalous. The photograph is of Shakur, estimated to be in his early 40s, wearing the garb of Foundation D-Class personnel with his middle fingers raised. The accompanying song called focused on SCP, revealing its actual location and means by which it could be broken free of current containment procedures, and identified several members of the O5 Council by their first name and described the function and nature of the Foundation.
So Jake, real quick, the O5 Council is essentially the big head dogs, the cool dudes, the big mumbo jumbos of the
Imagine being
SCP.
fucking doxxed by Tupac Shakur. Imagine being like the most highly fucking secretive organization in the world, and you get doxxed by Tupac
That'd be a Chad move, not gonna lie.
in a
I
massive
respect him.
in a massive sweeping operation involving the activation of multiple task forces across blank continents. All trace of the video was erased, and all blank viewers were administered Class A amnestics. Midway through this operation, entire album title XK Scenario was released to the iTunes account of Beyonce Knowles. Each song featured SCP-2137-2 as well as a variety of guest artists and focused on a different key to class SCP currently in captivity. Though SCP tracking bots were able to bring XK Scenario down to only blank downloads, complete digital eradication of the individual files have been proven difficult, though no loss of life or property was incurred. The sheer scale of the danger posed by this containment breach was prompted a Foundation-wide state of high alert. This prompted an outgoing upgrade to all automatic SCP firewalls and engendered the reclassification of 2137 from Euclid to Keter. Why don't they just break the CD?
Because they have to study it.
Yeah,
They
the,
can't contain and protect.
Not to destroy. It's to
yeah,
secure.
the foundation is to contain, not to like.
Not to-
It'll only be
Not
utilized.
to get rid
It's causing a lot of problems. I just hit it with a little hammer.
But they have to realize
Dunk.
they do have some code. They do have some reasons to not do things. only time they'll ever consider termination is if it's impossible to contain it.
Yeah, I know a few stories talk about why don't we just get rid of it?
This seems pretty impossible to contain. The
But
breach
it's not
sparked.
causing an outward danger to the world, it's posing a danger to the SCP's function.
The breach sparked heated debate as how to proceed with the containment of and conceptual understanding regarding 2137, which came to an end upon the appearance of a new instance of SCP-2137-1's instance was produced spontaneously through the mouth of SCP blank, which appeared to fall into a trance during the incident with the lyrics in totality repeatedly written in what was identified as data expunge 117,000 times all over the interior of its containment chamber.
Should somebody else do the rap?
I will start rapping again.
All right.
Help me catch my killers and I'll let you have yours. Trust me, you nerds do not want a war. What if I told you that I redacted it all? What if everyone knew that redacted was about to fall? You redacted and the redacted. Because I don't want you to think you want redacted playing in public. Redacted, my N-word, redacted, Montauk, redacted, make you my bitch, redacted, redacted, I see it all, redacted. You won't like what happens if you break the CD. Think my right problem? You don't want to deal with the real me. I can hear you right thinking about a fucking plan. You can stop me, I'm the fucking man. So consider long and hard the hammer I'm swinging, because the next time you open your mouth, it might just be me singing.
So that's why you don't break the fucking disc with the little tiny.
Tupac becomes real
Is
if
it
you break
Montauk?
the disc.
Go ahead.
What
Go
were you
ahead.
about to say?
No, I told Jacob to go ahead so he can finish his thought.
I said if you break the disc, Tupac becomes real.
Yes, Montauk is from another SCP, isn't it?
It is also a city in New York. It might be referring to that. I feel like there might be a Montauk protocol or something.
It's from the really famous SCP with the kid.
Yeah, the Montauk protocol from 231. That's what he's
Yeah.
referencing.
Yeah.
What is the Montauk Protocol?
So SCP-231 is basically a mother who is about to give birth to the broken god, and you need to do Protocol Montauk on it to stop it. It's heavily implied to be heavy sexual violence.
And the mother is not old.
Yes. Leave it as that.
The decision was made to resume the former method of testing involving the embedded informants used to relate SCP-2137's evidence and information while continuing to study the method by which SCP-2137 transmits its broadcast in an effort to truly contain it completely. 2137-2 resumed its previous behavioral pattern. 2137-1 focusing on crimes until the killers are located by conventional law enforcement with the exception of one final task. At this time, its last recorded direct interaction with the Foundation.
All right, who would like to do this duet with me?
I'll be Lil Wayne.
All right, start us off.
Make it sound as awfully nasally as possible to get the authentic Lil Wayne impression.
Oh man, I should play Lil Wayne.
Big
He's
about
like,
a baby, I'm a novelist, got a
I'm
room
Lil
tight
Wayne.
so next to the talking hippopotamus, and you're forgiven. But now you gotta feed the meter. Young tune on the track, better upgrade this Nikita. Call me Mr. Magnanimous, Mr. Magnificent. Yeah, bitch, get like me. Wheezy F, baby, live for the SCP.
Oh, my N-words. I knew you'd come around. Step in the ring with God and you're gonna get clowned. But let's be real here, homie. There is no need to fight it. There's a grander design. I bet you're gonna like it. You got a lot of gray, and that keeps you up at night, but sometimes things are just really black and white.
Investigation into any kind of link or pattern between the crimes SCP-2137 solves is ongoing, as is interest to why it doesn't use its agency to pursue the criminals in question rather than working through proxies.
So, guys, thoughts on Tupac, the SCP?
Tupac.
I thought it was just going to be like a shit post, but it's actually really interesting.
It's
Yeah,
I
actually
agree with that.
it's a perfect example of what a not serious SCP should aspire to be.
Yeah.
Still
Yeah.
a little unnerving, but definitely hilarious.
Yeah, this actually makes me think, I hope there's a canon or a tale or something where like things are going down and it's like, we have to bring it out.
We need Tupac.
And then
Things are going down. You need to break the disc and make him real.
they whip out like someone slams like a CD player on the table, like a boombox, slide it in, and then
The only way to defeat the broken
It's
god is
it's
Tupac.
you need Tupac to solve the case, and it's like so real that he gets Biggie to guest.
like you know that Loki line in Dark World where he's like I can't remember he's like, so like after all this time you have to come to me.
Yeah.
They break the disc to unleash Tupac and he fights like a big monster.
Yeah,
Something sounds very like menacing when you have to say unleash Tupac.
unleash Tupac.
Oh my gosh. See, I've been laughing this entire time because apparently when my sisters were teenagers, they did a seance for Tupac and Kurt Cobain. So I'm pretty sure
Dude,
they
I would do a
Tupac.
seance for Kurt if I could find out if Courtney Love killed him or not. It's a yes, by the way.
Oh.
All right, Matt. Would you like
Okay,
to go
so-
next, Matt?
Is it my turn? All right.
It is your turn.
Matt,
Bring
this
that
one
first guess.
Is very, very disturbing. Not in the way the previous one was. This is less bloody and more just straight up bizarre. And this is actually one that I read when I was younger.
Uh-oh.
It is SCP-597. I have not forgotten a word of this SCP. It was that disturbing to me. And I am not an easy person to bother most of the time.
Oh.
I'm just gonna hit that sweet, sweet deafen button real quick, so I
Oh,
can have a
boy.
nice, good night of sleep.
Well, no, it's not that it'll keep you up at night thinking of horror. Well, okay, we'll get to it. We'll get to it.
Let's take an amnesty before you go to bed.
I
SCP
don't have
SCP-597, classified as Euclid. The special containment procedures for SCP-597 are: it must be guarded and researched by a rotating monthly shift. Those in charge of the design of the containment procedures are not allowed to contact anything with the SCP. If at all possible, this duty should be left to overseer level personnel. No one is to be allowed to view, either via video or even through a window, or be in the same room as SCP-597 for longer than 5 hours. Maintenance personnel are to alternate daily. Evaluations are to be given at the end of the shift or whenever mental distress seems obvious. If psychological contamination is too great and poses a tangible danger, termination can be performed immediately by the on-site analyst. The mental health offices are soundproofed for this purpose.
Does that mean they fucking shoot him?
Yes,
Okay.
trust me, that's a very good mercy for them. The doctor can terminate up to 10 individuals at a time. Any more requires the approval of an overseer. In this scenario, procedure 597-32, weaning the babies, is to be activated. Vents in the ceiling require regular maintenance for this purpose. Smoke detectors are not to be turned off for any reason. Candles and incense lit in 597's cell are to be taken as an indication of a dangerous obsession. The leaving and offering of food, as 597 does not require it, is to be viewed in the same light as well. All other signs of unnatural love and religious awe are to be reported along with these. The room and the surrounding area are to be sealed, with ventilation shafts, plumbing, and wiring checked every day. Measures are to be put into place for the continuous extermination of all vermin in the facility. Animals not part of the study found suckling on SCP-597 are to be removed and terminated as soon as possible due to risk of biological
Suckling.
contamination. Can you guys hear me? Am I cutting out?
Yeah.
No,
No,
you're
you're-
good.
no, I just think
I hear you.
suckling is funny.
Yes. Because of this, in the morning, workers must wear hazmat suits while entering the cell, for SCP-597 is often covered in vermin, including mice, opossums, squirrels, and bats. 597 is to be hosed down weekly with special care given to the areas around the nipples to prevent the buildup
Big
of
titty.
saliva and drool.
Why is it a big titty?
Those suckling need
we're getting
washing
there.
daily, as does the floor underneath them, for the removal of the puddles of urine, feces, for the first few days, but when solids completely leave the body, this is no longer necessary, although occasionally a thin watery substance is excreted, and vomit, which is produced when they drink too eagerly, quickly, or out of rhythm. The cleaning products are to be plain and unscented, and no scrubbing is to be done by hand. So, SCP-597 is a blob of flesh, approximately 20 feet high and 35 feet wide. Although this measurement changes slightly when it moves, the substances expand and ripple. All over its body, mostly located on its rolls, are hundreds and hundreds of teats of various
Why is it a
colors
giant
and
titty?
sizes.
What the fuck?
Whenever a mammal is released into its cell, it will be drawn to the corresponding teat for its species and then proceed to suckle as long as they are unimpeded. The milk released will be identical in every way to the makeup of the subject's mothers, although able to sustain the subject's nutritional needs indefinitely. While the fluid is the same as normal milk chemically, for some reason, whether it be an effect of the SCP or an unknown quality of the substances it excretes, any full-grown mammal that would normally require more can survive to the end of their normal lifespan, give or take a few years, simply by suckling at the nipple. Although their teeth will fall out, their muscles will atrophy, or immerse themselves, and stomach problems are presented because of the all-liquid diet.
What the fuck?
Can I just point
This
out the
is-
fact that it says that it's identical to the subject's mothers, which means they have anecdotal evidence from people.
Yeah, they really
I
had to
hate
go up and
this.
be like, "Hey, old lady, I need
What's
I need
your
your titty
mom's
milk."
titty look like?
No. But the reason they put that in there is because they're not saying it's all human tits. It's saying there's gorilla tits, there's bird tits, there's squirrel tits, there's every
I
kind of
hate
tit.
this.
There
I
wouldn't
hate
be
this.
It's Mather. Oh wait, do they? They're not mammals, but do they still have teeth?
No.
Oh yeah,
I
no,
don't
not bird. I should have said bats.
Sergio, does a bird have a memory gland?
No, it doesn't.
I'm wrong. I meant to say bat. I meant to say bat.
Biology
that's what we
101.
Sergio, man, I fucking hate this story.
Well, that's the point.
What?
Keep
Hey,
going.
do you not like the giant titty?
I should note they observe that subjects will curl up as close as possible on the side of SCP-597, laying under it sometimes, which there have been reports of suffocation, or immerse themselves and dive into the flesh itself.
I hate this so much.
Keep
This is the
going.
worst thing.
Milk
Bro,
taken in a
imagine.
bottle does not have the same results, although those already affected by SCP-597 will fall under a quasi-hypnotic hold when presented with a container, will do anything to possess it, and find drinking it
It's the
incredibly
baby
gratifying.
fetish.
Those in charge of bottling the liquid have the urge to use a rubber teat for feeding babies as a cover, even when a normal lid will more than suffice, and will attempt to do so even when informed that it is in violation of dangerous materials protocol not being an airtight seal.
Bro, imagine looking at a titty and being like, "Goo goo gaga."
Dude, I get that every day.
Oh no.
Alright, here's where it's about to get really messed up. If this is bothering somebody, you should probably skip ahead a few minutes, because it gets worse.
I will. I'm actually just gonna cut the audio, tell you how far to skip to, and then we'll just come back.
Alright, sounds good. The urge
Yeah.
to suckle is a mental, physical, and sexual compulsion. While lower life forms cannot resist its effects at all, humans can, although they experience great difficulty. Those in SCP-597's presence describe it as a mental pull, leading us to the conclusion that it is partially telepathic, although it also obviously appeals to deep instincts and is hormonal as well. Endorphins associated with breastfeeding and maternal comfort are released. Those who do give in do so in a mad rush, all restraint broken at once or slow ritual, commonly involving bowing, kneeling, crawling, and chanting. They are
Praise
reduced
the
quickly.
titty.
Yes, they are praising the tit. They are reduced quickly to an infantile state, and within 1 hour lose all linguistic abilities, intellectual capabilities, and willpower. See
Someone
Dark
jerked off
Side.
to this story.
Bro, you really
don't
just
even
look
wanna
at the
know who
fucking
wrote it.
SCP-597 and just go goo goo gaga.
Someone jerked off to this story.
Before complete loss of brain function, it is said to be highly comforting and pleasurable, and they say they feel safe, like never before. Before and after contact is made, there are reports of strong feelings associated with vague images and recollections and sensations, all traced back to the womb or crib, often centered around a remembrance of their parents' smell and facial appearance. Data expunged. Retarded, blind, data expunged. Permanently attached, data expunged.
Data expunged.
Those who watch are also influenced, although in lesser or different ways. Increased pettiness, regression to child states, extreme immaturity, decreased bowel control, fetishization, promiscuity, and even reports of public masturbation have all been noted. Staff's IQ, focus, and rationality all drop significantly over a period of time with SCP-597, and they often will fight each other over silly things, such as objects or perceived insults, be racked with laughing and crying fits, be unable to resolve problems in an adult way, and lose the ability to control their emotions. After 4 to 5 weeks, it is impossible for them to function in a work setting, and they all communicate with each other with a series of grunts, coos, short, confused sentences. Attention should also be paid to the fact that the employee's name for the object generates from the official title. SCP-597 becomes the mother, then to just mother, then mom, mommy, mom, and so forth, often ending in sucking, blowing, or kissing sounds as the representation.
Imagine your fucking husband comes home from work and you don't know what he does for a living and he just becomes fucking Google baby.
Imagine you've known a man for years working in one of the most horrible, awful conditions of your entire life. You lose track of him for 2 weeks, and the next time you see him, he says Google.
He's wearing diapers and he's got a big binky. And you go, what the fuck, Jeremy? And he goes,
Wait, this is just looping back to our conversation of the fucking joke in SpongeBob of I can explain.
I can explain.
Foreshadowing.
He worked in the SCP Foundation. That's his explanation.
That's like
it's a poor tortured
Chekhov's
soul who
binky.
managed to escape.
Chekhov's binky.
Also of interest is that almost immediately strong oral fixations will develop or resurface. Those who quit smoking will start again, 100% occurrence, and the chewing of gum, snacking, gluttony, nail and lip biting, and hair chewing rises as well, almost to the point of psychosis. There are deadly weight gains, choking incidents, balls or clumps of human material obstructing the digestive system, murders over food. Vending machine is often completely empty, and dental and health problems. Doctors and personnel.
No, not dental and health problems.
Imagine seeing two people covered in their own shit beating each other up over a vending machine. This
And
is
they have
what
no
the SCP
teeth.
does to you.
It just sounds like middle school. I don't know what you're
I
talking
really
about.
don't like this. I don't. This sucks.
That's the point. That is in fact the point. Doctors and personnel in the area of effect, even those entering for a few moments, will find themselves absent-mindedly putting something in their mouth without realizing it. Observation of the employees in their homes or private lives also reveals data expunged, often the point of only being aroused by data expunged. Men with already unstable or fragile egos find a strengthening in Oedipal complexes, often to dangerous levels. 3 employees have raped and murdered data expunged. These same personality types also enjoy data expunged and request access to SCP-597 for that purpose. Unfortunately, although this behavior is not encouraged, those with this disease are too many to take a moral or ideological stance and completely restrict the activity without losing the needed number of workers. A good number are also high-level personnel, although revelation of their identity is forbidden and requires clearing the area and disabling the camera feed so they can perform the act, which is not allowed to go over an hour or separation will cause seizures and homicidal tantrums. Specific procedures for sexual visits can be found in document 597-XD-12.
I don't want to read that document.
It's data. It's mostly data expunged.
Yes, it's all data expunged. All right, there's just a little bit left here of document XX23. Currently at 597, the basin size are 61 specimens suckling. They are 4 dogs in its bottom area, 6 cats,
Where
20.
did the dogs come from?
They put them in there for testing. 27 rats hanging off of its front. The wild vermin swarms that often hoard around it are especially problematic, but these are all lab bred except for SCP-597, SS-19, and SS-24, which refuse to be removed and are clamped too tightly on just to pull off. 15 bats that cover approximately all of its back, and 8 humans, 4 D-class personnel.
I don't like this next document at all.
Oh, yeah. Care must be taken, several bit of data expunged, followed by care must be taken to not allow them to attempt to rip or tear a hole in 597 for penetrative purposes.
Oh.
And finally, document XX25, an all-female task force has been shown not to be more effective in containment as demonstrated by 3 events: development, bisexual tendencies, and data expunged. The loss of 5 female guards who, after writing "Mommy, Mommy, How I Love My Mommy" all over the walls of the cell, were lost and began suckling, and the suicide of Dr. Vanison, who, after circling each and every teat in red Sharpie and marker and writing life next to them, shot herself in the head. Damn. Finally, document C13. Several data were expunged. Inside the temple, the SCP was found surrounded by scaffolding and staircases, with ladders propped up against the meat to allow as many people as possible to partake in the event. Data expunged.
I fucking hated that.
Calling it the meat is probably the worst part of this entire thing, because it's just
I loved it.
so ominous.
It is one of the SCPs that has always stuck out in my mind as the worst one to be assigned to. Because there's
Yeah,
no way by being controlled.
that was really fucked up. That's why I like it. That's like I love SCP for the
We're man
Michael's power
down.
went out. It's unfortunate.
Uh-oh.
He'll be back.
Yeah, so as I was saying, I like it because like I feel like SCP like it covers a lot of things that like you don't see in regular horror stuff. I will say if I worked at the Foundation, this thing would make me quit. I'd be like, all right, guys, Tupac, Weeping Angel thing, giant lizard, several god, literally God himself, Krampus. I was fine.
Tupac.
But I said Tupac. But the
But the
tit,
tit monster? Mm-mm.
no,
Mm-mm.
that's where I draw the line.
Oh my god. I have one thing to say. I think this is probably the best example of a like SCP with a lot of data expunged in like all of the SCPs, because it's like, yeah, it's really horrifying by itself, but when the audience is left to fill in the blanks with the data expunged,
Yeah.
that just makes it like 1,000 times worse.
Yeah.
And it actually is a very shockingly simple SCP that they just expand a lot on.
It's just that titty.
Yes.
It's just a tit that makes you very obsessed with it.
So shall we start on Kai's since Michael is
Absolutely.
Hell yeah.
Which
So,
one should I do?
I think 1128.
I think initially you picked the aquatic horror 1128.
I picked the aquatic horror, but then I also really like the other one. But I can do the aquatic horror, and then
I
we can do
feel
the
like
other.
I feel like the one you picked is kind of a little bit too long.
Yes, it is very long.
Yes, and 1128 is shorter.
It's very short, actually.
Well, there is one interview log and one experiment log that has a
Okay.
little bit of link to it.
All right. So I will start now. And we'll hope that Michael trickles in soon. All right, so SCP-1128. Object Class Euclid. Special Containment Procedures. Written descriptions or imagery of SCP-1128's appearance, or videos of the entity breaching. See Addendum 11283. Found outside of the Foundation are to be destroyed. And C-Class amnest. I can't talk either. Wow, I'm getting the Greg Chudley disease.
You're
Class
good.
C amnestics are to be administered to anyone exposed to such information or showing signs of 1128 contamination. Written
Before you
What?
Sorry, before you continue, I want to read. That reminded me of a Reddit post about somebody asking you to pronounce amnestics. And someone was like, "It's not amnesiacs. They didn't just take a bunch of people who forgot and, like beat the people over the head with them."
That would be amazing. Like they
go
just
and
take a
get the first
chair,
one.
like in wrestling. Shall I continue?
Yes.
All right. A written description of the entity's appearance is to be kept at site for experimental purposes only, and is not to be read by anyone other than D-Class used for testing. If exposed, staff are to report immediately for administration of Class C amnestics. Mobile Containment Force Kappa 12 has been assigned to intercept and redirect any and all water traffic that passes through their designated patrol area by any means necessary. See Addendum 11282. Description: SCP-1128 is an entity that manifests as a massive aquatic predator to anyone given a full description of the being's appearance through either spoken/written descriptions or visual descriptions of the being. Persons infected by SCP-1128 will initially exhibit no abnormal behavior, though some cases show a general aversion to activities involving bodily immersion in water, such as bathing or swimming. Should subject ever be fully immersed in water, they will disappear completely under the surface of the water, regardless of the water's actual depth. In most cases, subjects will reappear moments later in a panic state and frantically try to leave the water, while in some other cases the water will become polluted with blood and debris confirmed to be the remains of the subject. Subjects that have reappeared intact claim that they were transported to a vast ocean, where they are pursued by SCP-1128. Interviews with these individuals carry some risk of further SCP-1128 contamination, as descriptions of the being's appearance trigger further infections. SCP-1128 infection can be treated with Class C amnestics, as it appears memory of the entity or descriptions of it are required for its anomalous properties to take effect. Addendum 11281. Testing with infected D-Class have shown that wireless communication devices function normally when used by submerged subjects affected by SCP-1128. See Interview 1128 blank for details.
I say we read the interview so we know exactly
I
what
say
that
so
is.
as well. I'll be the interviewer, Dr. S. Who would like to be the interviewed?
I will be the
I-
D-class.
Okay, you
Oh,
can be the
you
D-Class.
can Sergio, you can.
No, you can do it.
Okay.
Alright.
Thanks.
So, forward. D-Class person was instructed to read from a small pamphlet describing SCP-1128's appearance. Then was outfitted with diving gear and lowered into a large tub of water via winch and cable. This person's gear was outfitted with a wireless communication device to allow contact between himself and Dr. S, and to test if SCP had any effect on such devices. Interview has been edited to remove hazardous information pertaining to SCP-1128. Person, can you hear me? Over.
I hear you, Doc. Damn, this thing is deep. It looks so tiny from the outside.
How well is your reception? Over.
Good enough, I guess. Kind of fuzzy, but not enough I can't hear what you're saying.
What is your current status?
Right now, I'm just sinking to the bottom of... Is this the ocean? How the hell did you manage to fit an entire ocean inside a stinking bathtub?
Irrelevant. What are your surroundings?
I just said ocean, damn it! There's fish and everything! Don't you guys know what the hell's inside your...
What happened?
Oh, I'm fine. I just hit bottom. Looks like I've landed in a patch of seaweed or something.
What are your surroundings?
Seaweed, mostly. Wait a second, I guess thinner to my right. Looks like there might be a drop-off that way. Should I go take a look?
You may proceed.
Okay. Damn suit's heavy. It's hard to move in this thing. Hey, is this thing soundproof? All my talking is scaring off. Oh my god!
D-Class, respond. What's your status?
I'm okay. I don't think it's on me. Oh, I think I pissed myself.
What happened? What did you see?
Scariest damn thing I've ever seen. Some kind of big ass. Description redacted. Wait a second. That's the thing from that stupid booklet you gave me, isn't it?
Affirmative. Please refrain from describing it any further. What is it doing?
Nothing right now. It's just swimming along. I think it's got something in its mouth. Is that... Wait. Holy crap, it's away. It's eating away. Oh my god. Look at those teeth.
I think we're done here. Pull him out now. Thank you for your cooperation. We're bringing you up now.
You swallowed it. Yeah. Oh my god, it's gonna haunt my dreams. So... Oh, I think it sees me. Oh god, it's looking. It's headed this way. Oh god, help me.
Get him out of there now! End log.
Damn, he's dead.
Closing statement. Winch was retracting at full speed when the cable went taut, wresting the winch from its mounting. Cable then went slack and water became polluted with blood confirmed to be that of D-Class personnel. No further remains or equipment were recovered. Interview log and relevant documents were edited for vectors, and all staff present were treated with Class C amnestics. Alright.
Let's head back to the main document.
Yes. Also, love that voice acting.
Thank you. You did pretty good too.
Thank you. Alright. So, Addendum 11282. Tracking devices affixed to D-Class used in SCP-1128 experiments revealed that submerged subjects are transported to an area within the Redacted Ocean, not far from the coast of Redacted. Further investigation of these coordinates revealed the area to be data expunged. Mobile Containment Force Kappa 12, the Sea Devils, has been assigned to keep unauthorized seafaring vessels out of this area at all costs.
Haha, Kappa.
Bruh.
We've got a note. That's where they've been sending those E-Class? How does the short-range wireless communicator get such clear signal from that far away? This is from Dr. S. And now on to Addendum 11283. Tests involving D-1732, who had been used for repeated SCP-1128 testing without administration of amnestics, was shown to be able to encounter the entity in bodies of water normally insufficient for bodily immersion. This effect became more drastic over time, with D-1732 developing progressively stronger hydrophobic tendencies, claiming to see SCP-1128 from outside almost any body of water encountered by the subject. On blank blank 20 blank days after initial exposure, D-1732 was violently pulled into a glass of water by Redacted. No remains were recovered from the accident. Staff witnessing the event were found to be infected by SCP-1128 and administered Class C amnestics. Containment procedures were then updated to include videos and descriptions of this event, and testing involving extended infection of D-Class was terminated. Shall we go to the experiment log?
Yes.
Why not?
If you
Alright.
get your mind wiped, would it still affect you?
No.
No, because you need memories of it for it to work. Alright. So, experiment log 1128A1. Date, blank, blank, blank. Procedure, D-Class exposed to SCP-1128 outfitted with diving gear and communication device, and then lowered into a tub of water. Is this just the same interview? Yes. Alright, so experiment 1128A2. The procedure is that D-Class is exposed to SCP-1128 and equipped with scuba gear, placed into a standard protective shark cage and lowered into the water. No response for approximately blank seconds, then the line went taut and was severed at a point beneath the water. Remains of D-Class, as well as jagged steel fragments, presumably remnants of the cage, surfaced shortly afterward. 1128A3. Date, still gone. Procedure, same as above. Cage treated with SCP blank to increase durability. Result, same as above. No remains resurfaced. Notes, blank hours later, MCF Sea Devils reported finding an intact shark cage floating beneath the surface of a patrol area near one of their vessels. Item was retrieved and confirmed to match description of cage used in experiment 1128A3. Cage was undamaged but bore traces of human DNA and feces of indeterminate origin. No further remains of D-Class found. Experiment log 1128A4. Date, still blank. Procedure, exposed D-Class equipped with diving gear and armed with Redacted for use against hostile organisms. Unlike previous tests, subject was also equipped with a live feed video camera attached to his helmet. Result, video feed shows weapon was ineffective against 1128, appearing only to enrage the creature rather than harm it considerably or drive it away. Feed was lost when D-Class was devoured. Staff involved treated with amnestics following transcription of video feed. Experiment log 11285. Date blank. Procedure: expose D-class equipped protective environment suit and video feed lowered into a vat of redacted to test SCP-1128 manifestation in liquids other than water. Substance was chosen for its low density, allowing free movement similar to walking in open air. Result: D-class recovered without incident. Liquid did not trigger SCP-1128's effect. And here's a note from another doctor. Okay, so you might be safe from the thing in liquids other than water, but probably won't help you much unless you intend to drink and bathe in exotic chemicals for the rest of your life, which would probably get a lot shorter if you tried that.
I'm not gonna lie, being with the last one, I thought when it said a vat of redacted, he was dumped into a vat of semen.
Oh, Jesus.
Shut
Or
up.
a vat of milk.
I mean, both of those are kind of water-based, so I feel like SCP-1128 could grab you there.
Oh,
anyways.
no.
Probably mercury.
That would be
That's
horrific.
about as hazardous to your health as SCP-1128 is.
Yeah, I'll take my chances with the water at that point.
So
I
our
guess-
thoughts on 1128?
It's a good water monster SCP.
You have to stay dehydrated for the rest of your life if you think about it.
Yes,
Because
that's
if your
what's so
pee-
insidious. So
if your
enjoy
pee
not
is-
having amnestics, everyone.
If your pee is too clear, then it will kill you.
It'll go up the stream.
It's like minnows flying up your pee hole. And that's what Michael comes
Welcome back,
to.
Michael.
Oh,
Damn, he's
Michael?
broken.
dead. I killed him.
We might need to administer amnestics.
I'm finally here.
did
Sorry.
1128 get you?
No, the SCP Foundation found out about me, and they had to expunge me from their records.
So
No,
we
I
just
am-
read 1128. It's a water monster that if you hear about it and you're dumped into a thing of water, you'll be transported into an ocean and then it will kill you.
So we've already heard about it. So as soon as we touch like a bit of water, we're going to be sent to
No, you have to have it fully described to you or see a picture
fully.
of it.
Okay.
There are no descriptions of it.
There's no
Okay.
descriptions of it on the page other than it is large
The
enough.
water predator.
It is large enough to consume a whale, to hold it in its jaws.
Oh wow, that's a big boy.
Imagine peeing and then you get taken to the ocean because your pee was too clear.
Yeah. I can't wait to see how fucked the audio is because my power got cut out literally while we were recording.
Oh, check. I found this art of it in general. Someone made.
Well, I guess we're all gonna die.
Nice. Enjoy death.
Big chunk.
Thanks, Sergio.
Thank you, Sergis.
It looks like the bull squid from Half-Life.
For me, it looks like something straight out of the American Godzilla animated series.
Oh no.
No, the animated series, not the Hanna-Barbera one. The one for the Tri-Star film was actually
good.
good. It was actually good. Not the Hanna-Barbera one, the other one.
Or not the bull squid. What's the fucking water creature from Half-Life? What's it called?
The Alaskan bullworm.
Yeah.
I think you could just call it a ghost Leviathan from Subnautica and call it a day, honestly.
Yeah, that's what I was
Yeah.
thinking of as well.
That's pretty fair. It's a
Ichthyosaur.
Leviathan.
It reminds me of the Ichthyosaur.
Gotcha.
I
Mosasaur,
found this rendition of it. I don't really like the design, but that's also something that I think that 1128 could look like.
Maybe.
Perhaps.
Possibly.
Looks like
Yeah.
this. Looks like
I-
this but big.
Just as a criticism of the entry as a whole, I wish that they would go in a bit more to the origins of it. Some stuff related to that.
I do like most SCPs not having a defined origin; they just kind of exist.
Yeah, but SCP-597 has quote unquote an origin, showing it's
I
been
would like
around
to.
for some time.
I would like to know how they found. Wait, did they say how they found out about it?
They did not in the article say
No.
they found
I
out
would
about
like
1128.
at the least. I would
At
like
least
them
that.
to describe how they found out about it. That's
Yeah,
it doesn't-
that's fair. I would also like even crazier descriptions of things happening to people.
Because somebody would have to, there had to have been a written description of it that survived somewhere for someone
Yeah.
to read it, get killed by it, and then the Foundation found out about it.
Yeah, now
Mhm.
looking at this again, you basically like have to be submerged in water for this to be a problem, right?
Yes.
Well, no.
Well, it
'cause-
says it
no,
gets
'cause
worse.
Yeah,
No,
yeah,
'cause
it gets worse.
The guy got killed by the glass of water.
Yes.
Yeah.
Also, as a counter argument to what you said, Kai, I kind of like that the gore is very vague, because if you,
I just mean, like-
gore is kind of like a, or descriptors for stuff like this is kind of like a, like, there's a sweet spot where if you don't describe enough, it's not scary, but if you describe too much, it's also not scary, because at that point it gets kind of cheesy.
I think what Kai meant is just more descriptions of people getting pulled in and stuff like that.
Yes, that's
Mhm.
that's what I was going for. Like the glass of water
okay.
thing. Like, oh,
So
we had somebody step in a puddle in the parking lot, and now they're just
we made a big
gone.
tub of Jello, and we dropped a guy in there, and he was transported into the ocean.
The way I view it is like let's say it's through a puddle. Like when you step in, you just kind of like fall through. Like if it was like very deep. Hold on, let me try and find it. Let me try and find something. Yeah, like
Well,
this. This is essentially what happens to you.
Yeah. But
Yeah, you just
yes.
go through and you go into the ocean.
I just had a kind of fucked up idea for extending it. What if they talk about a D-class personnel being kept in a room with as little water as humanly possible, and after a certain amount of time, they just open the door to try and do something with him, and the moisture in the air is enough to kill him.
Oh my god.
That
That
would
would
be
be
fucked.
amazing.
It would be very creative though.
We need more addendums. Write it,
Yeah.
Matt. Make it happen.
This is a bad entry. It just needs extended a little further to get that SCP unnervingness. Because,
Yes.
a giant tit that gets you addicted to it is one thing. But a giant tit with as much going on with it as that did was quite nice. But 1128, it's a good monster. It's a classic.
Imagine getting exposed to both.
Imagine getting exposed to the giant titty monster, drinking its milk, and then suddenly waking up in the ocean.
Imagine they dunk somebody into a vat of 597's milk. What would happen?
They become infatuated, and then they're immediately angry because they can't drink more.
So that reminds me of like the testing logs for 682, because there's a bunch of them in Tails. Like some SCPs are like, "No, bro, I can't take it." And then other SCPs go, "It's time."
Does SCP-173 break its neck like 20 times?
I think so. And it still survives.
Yeah.
I think there's like an SCP that's like a super duper martial artist and has epic anime confrontation with 682 and it still loses.
Damn.
Tim. Well, I think it's finally time to bring out mine.
Time for yours. Let's say
Yeah. Go
this
for
is
it.
3166.
Yeah.
Yes.
Item number SCP-3166, 3166. Object class Euclid. Special containment procedures. The
Oh.
Garfield media franchises to remain active and successful for as long as feasibly possible.
Excuse me?
Okay. Fuck
Funding.
everything else. That's the most utterly horrifying sentence we've read so far.
Funding is
I
to be
mean,
provided.
have you seen the live action movies?
Yeah, it's an
Bill
SCP
Murray.
all on its own.
You seen the
Bill Murray
restaurant?
could not save it. There's a restaurant.
There's a
You
restaurant.
know, you can watch the entire series of the Garfield show on Netflix, right?
I don't want to.
What do you mean you don't want to watch the greatest anime known to man?
I
Wait,
used-
wait, hold on.
okay,
That just
Fun fact:
that-
my grandma used to buy me those books that were like Garfield strip collections, and I just read them in bed, and I
fair.
just laugh at the funny cat.
wait. That just reminds me. You know the meme of Bane and like Bane's got his hands out and then Pink Guy's about to face off with him. It's like
Yeah.
682. Garfield. Some dude who just got done drinking the titty milk of 597.
I'm about to read some Garfield after drinking some fat ass titty milk. Anyways, let me continue. The Garfield media franchise.
Wait, and then you listen to some Tupac.
Yeah, the Garfield
him
media
go.
franchise is to remain. What?
Go ahead.
The Garfield media franchise is to remain active and successful for as long as feasibly possible. Funding is to be provided to any Garfield media ventures via foundation front companies present in the comic and film industries. Agents embedded within Paws Inc. and Andrews McNeil syndication are to place targeted mimetic agents in outgoing comic strips, encouraging the retention of a sizable Garfield fan base and discouraging Jim Davis from discontinuing Garfield. Agents are to monitor individuals at significant risk of attack from SCP-3166. In the event of SCP-3166 manifestation, agents are to use supplied frozen lasagna to lure SCP-3166 away from its target and dispatch it once out of public view. Any witnesses are then to be administered amnestics as an appropriate for their level of exposure.
I just imagine like once the SCP is sort of about the lasagna, some big Foundation agent just like kicks it and then pulls out a rifle, just headshots it.
And then lasagna grows
Target
back.
neutralized.
Target neutralized. So I wanna quickly give you a artist rendition.
Oh no.
Oh
So there it
boy.
is.
Is it r/I'm sorry, John, or whatever?
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Description. SCP-3166 is a 2.1 meter tall humanoid entity, presumed petaphysical in nature, known to manifest during periods when the Garfield media franchise is performing poorly in terms of public reception. The exterior layer of SCP-3166 body resembles a crudely made costume of the character Garfield, which field inspection has shown to be composed of legitimate cat fur. However, analysis of SCP-3166 composition in the field has shown that its interior mass is composed entirely out of pasta, specifically lasagna.
My internal organs are ground beef.
John, I need... John, you fat oaf, you gotta give me lasagna. Upon the criteria for its manifestation being met, SCP-3166 will appear in the vicinity of a suitable individual, hereafter referred to as the target, and move towards their location. Known targets of SCP-3166 have included individuals prominently involved in rival media to the Garfield franchise, individuals formerly involved in the production of the Garfield comic strip, individuals involved in parodies of the Garfield franchise, vocal critics of the Garfield franchise, Garfield creator Jim Davis. Upon reaching its target, SCP-3166 will attempt to inflict bodily harm upon them through a mixture of blunt force using nearby objects and force feeding of lasagna. Obtained through self-disembowelment. During this process, SCP-3166 will vocalize by meowing, purring, and screeching in the manner of an extremely agitated cat. Lasagna outside SCP-3166's mass has proven to be an effective form of bait for the entity, as upon seeing it, SCP-3166 will abandon its original goal and instead attempt to incorporate the pasta into itself. SCP-3166 first manifested on October 23rd, 1989, within the Chicago offices of United Media, who were the publishers of the Garfield comic strip at the time. Upon manifestation, SCP-3166 wandered around the offices in a confused and distressed manner, before indiscriminately assaulting any individuals present after security attempted to apprehend it. It demanifested 20 minutes later. Foundation agents responding to the situation distributed amnestics as appropriate. Over the course of the following week, similar manifestations took place at a number of United Media offices around the country. ending on October 29th, 1989. Following that date, SCP-3166 altered its behaviors to its current form. See the week of Garfield comic strips beginning on October 23rd, 1989 in supplementary document 3166-1. If you click on that link, it takes you to gocomics.com, which will include a Garfield strip where Garfield wakes up in his home and he's all alone. And it's his house is for sale. It's run down. He's been abandoned. He essentially in that house for years. And there's no food, no Odie, no Don. And through his anger and denial, he wakes up and realizes that he's back in the comic. So it's assumed that
This is actual Garfield.
yeah. For additional context on pataphysical awakening. Initially, individuals involved with production of Garfield comic strips claimed to have no memory on working on that week's strip. All researchers working on SCP-3166 containment are to familiarize themselves on this material. Addendum 3166-1. Using tissue samples taken by Agent Mueller during SCP-3166's most recent manifestation, genetic analysis of the meat present within the lasagna has shown to be genetically identical to Garfield's creator, Jim Davis. The implications of this are currently unclear. However, during surveillance of Mr. Davis by containment teams, he has complained of severe mosquito bites in the night on a number of occasions, immediately preceding SCP-3166's manifestation.
Is Jim Davis an SCP?
I mean, technically, he would be... If we wanted to classify him, it would be SCP-3166-1.
I suppose so.
Wow.
Yeah.
So thoughts on? I know this is either referred to as Gorefield or Garfield. What are you guys' thoughts on it?
Genuinely pretty fucking good.
It's
I can smell
another,
it.
it's another comedic one that's actually unnerving the more you read it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can smell it.
I really was put off by the actual cat hair
Yeah, so was I.
around lasagna.
Also the human meat lasagna.
Yes.
No, the Jim Davis
The
meat.
Jim Davis meat
Yeah, it's specifically
lasagna.
Jim Davis meat.
Jimmy Dean meat.
There's
bro.
so many jokes we could make about that. I don't feel like making any of them right now.
Give me your meat, Jim
Oh.
Davis.
Yeah, this just makes me think. You know what would make for a really good, like an SCP first-person shooter? Like, I know
What?
people have tried to make the fan games that are all like, oh, you're a D-class and you're surviving, but imagine like a Resident Evil Umbrella course, not Umbrella, what was it, Operation Raccoon City, where you're an SCP strike team, and I'm just the game I'm describing is good, not like
Yeah,
all you have to say is
unlike
you are hunting
Operation
down
Raccoon
SCDs.
City.
Instead of a survival horror, you are just making it an action horror game.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be
Yeah.
really neat.
And
I'm
actually,
okay with that.
actually good, unlike fucking Operation Raccoon City. A 4 out of 10.
All I can say is that I'd be hella down to... I think that would actually be a really fun co-op game.
Yeah.
Could you imagine, like,
Mm.
a bunch
I
of
know-
friends getting together, playing as different, like, roles in the agency? Sort of like, I guess Payday sort of similar in that vein.
Like a Rainbow Six Siege, but SCP.
Yeah, but you're hunting down SCPs.
There's
Oh,
a
that'd be cool.
there's a specific one. It's like it's like a weird virus that basically turns people into like weird flesh golems, like necromorphs from Dead Space, and it took over like a Russian town. That's like the first level where you're descended into that, and you have to fight the flesh horrors, clear out the town.
Yeah.
Dang, bro.
I think,
Final
like-
boss is the big teeth.
I think the better example would be like kind of air quotes Call of Duty Zombies, where it's like it wouldn't be in the same vein. It'd be more like a campaign version of Call of Duty Zombies, where it's like
Like Left 4
it's like
Dead.
progressively getting like creepier and creepier until like like you finally get the big scare, and then it's just like all action from there.
I feel like you can have like different types of levels, like go in and clear out like I mentioned before, like a bunch of horrors, or you're set into a location and you're being stalked by something, You could have levels where you're fighting the Chaos Insurgency, where it just basically becomes like
Oh,
a-
Sergio.
a regular FPS. What?
Deep Rock Galactic. Like
But
that kind of
SCP.
that kind of level style.
I was thinking more of like, again, back to Payday. I was thinking more of like that, or like Rainbow Six Siege, where like you can kind of like mess with the terrain around you too. But like you still, it would still like keep up the creepy factor. Like there'd be, I agree with Sergio. That'd be really cool to see like certain levels take more of like a horror route, or some levels take more action route. So like you can have like a mission where you're hunting down SCP. I think it's 9-6, the shy guy. People like that one.
Yep.
You can have one where you're going in after him, and the goal is literally just to like, I guess, injure him enough to where like you can contain him.
Worth noting though is that 096 and particularly 173 have been heavily featured in the existing video games already.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But, like,
those are
people
like
like them.
examples.
People like them a lot, so I wouldn't see why you wouldn't want to include them.
Yeah, I can see them being added in, but there's so many SCPs. It would be nice to see a few of the other ones also getting added in.
No, I totally agree. I think
You get trapped
would
in the
be really
IKEA,
fun.
and you have to fight the weird IKEA zombie things that are in there.
Yeah, or you could do there was an SCP where it's like 2 bookends where you put something in between them and you get transported into that story, but you have to find the thing like within the bookends to get out, otherwise you get trapped in an endless loop as a background character.
Who owns the rights to SCP?
Nobody. It's Creative Commons.
Yeah, it's a Creative Commons. I know there was a controversy where some dude in Russia was trying to trademark SCP. I think they got him to knock it off though.
That's good.
But yeah,
it's probably like docs.
We call the actual SCP Foundation to turn him into a D class.
Yeah.
Because like, if you wanted to make an SCP video game and sell it, would you be able to?
I think so under Creative Commons.
Under Creative Commons, you can.
That's interesting.
Like there's so many SCP games out there. Like there is the multiplayer, Secret Lab, I believe that's what it was called. So you can play that one, or there's of course the very popular survival horror of the SCP Containment Breach.
I don't know if this ever got made into a full game because I remember somebody working on it, but someone was making a survival SCP game based on the IKEA SCP.
Yeah, I remember seeing that one.
Isn't there also the staircase one? Too?
Yeah, there is one about the staircase. The endless staircase that when you air quotes reach the bottom, there's a monster waiting for you.
I think better than the first-person shooter.
Just Super Mario 64.
Yeah, but better than I think a first-person shooter sort of action-y game. It might be nice to just see what the rank-and-file office administration doctors have to do.
I think there is a game on Steam that's like that. I think it's called it's like Monster Laboratory or something, where basically you run an SCP like Foundation. I can't remember exactly what it's called.
I'll have to check that out.
Let me. I know I have it on my wish list. I'm just trying to remember.
I think it'd be really fun to see an SCP Tycoon game, or a simulator, air quotes, like where you are one of the O5 members, and you're kind of like having to keep your SCPs contained, secured, and protected.
Honestly, I'm really surprised that there haven't been more attempts to make SCP movies or anything.
Yeah, there's been some fan films. I know there was one about the Shy Guy that was looking like really good.
Check General. This is the game I'm talking about called Lobotomy Corporation. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Monster Management Simulation. Basically, it's a management game where you manage an SCP Foundation.
Wow, it's not really popular.
That sounds like my kind of game.
Yeah, there's a lot that you could do with the SCPs and all that stuff.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the game description mentions Cabin in the Woods and Warehouse 13, which are SCP-like things.
I love Warehouse 13. I used to watch it with my dad all the time.
Nice.
It could be interesting to also have a game where you are attempting to break out SCPs.
Like playing as the Chaos Insurgency and breaking them out.
That would be interesting. I mean, there are games where, like, I mean, in the multiplayer game, there is the Secret Lab you can play as an SCP, and I think that would also, work as a fun kind of power fantasy kind of game.
I think, if I remember correctly, of the little SCP RP I played on Gmod, I think I played as the Chaos Insurgency and just like broke out SCPs, and I remember that being a big shit post.
Theoretical idea for the SCP first-person shooter: Tupac gives you side quest.
Let's go, Tupac side quest. Oh, there is a VR SCP game called SCP Lab Rat.
Is it on Steam?
It is coming out. And it is meant to be a VR recreation of Containment Breach.
Interesting.
That's something we can play on the crossover.
Hey Nick.
I won't be playing that.
Hey, Sergio, look up on an off-topic thing. Look up the game Empire of Sin. It looks like it'd be up your alley. It's an XCOM like, but it's 1920s Chicago.
There's also SCP Blackout, SCP Recontainment, which I think is the remake of SCP Containment Breach.
I'm just surprised that Hollywood hasn't gotten their grubby paws on it.
Honestly, I'm kind of thankful they haven't.
Yeah. Me too. Don't get me wrong, I'm just surprised.
I mean, if they do, I really hope that they get somebody that one respects and loves the material.
Guillermo del Toro should
Yeah, Guillermo del Toro would
Mm.
fucking rock that shit.
Sam Raimi or Guillermo del Toro should direct an SCP movie.
Oh, here's a good thing. I guess. What horror movie creatures do you think are the most SCP-like, or you would think you could find in the Foundation? I think the Thing would make a good Peter.
The Thing.
I was gonna say, it's not a movie character, but I don't think that it would be out of the question that Slender Man would be considered an SCP.
He is
I'm gonna
definitely an
say-
SCP.
Mhm.
He is an SCP?
I'm saying
could
like
be.
definitely. He'd be anomalous.
The Necronomicon, specifically the Evil Dead one.
Yes.
Yeah, because I mean, it doesn't have to be a creature. Oh yeah, Hellboy would be an SCP.
The Overlook Hotel from The Shining.
Yeah, that would
The
also
whole
be.
hotel.
Yeah, I mean, they have an
Absolutely.
infinite IKEA
Yeah.
considered as an SCP.
Do you think Goku would be an SCP?
Technically, yeah. E.T. is an SCP.
Yeah, I think for the most part, aliens are considered as long as you're outside the normal, you can be classified as an SCP.
Yeah. Well, I guess I'm an SCP.
I mean, there are people with
Obama.
superpowers who are considered SCPs.
Obama is an SCP. Because he got away with drone striking children.
Ouch.
Ooh.
Trying
Hot
to think of,
takes.
like, Godzilla would be an SCP. Like, if you think about it, if the MonsterVerse really wanted to, like, shake things up after Congress has got, like, Godzilla, they could just fucking do an SCP movie.
They could.
I'm just imagining the SCP Foundation having to anesthetize all of Japan every year when Godzilla attacks.
Honestly, thinking
it's-
about it,
Well, it depends on what timeline you're talking about, because there's like 500 different timelines for Godzilla.
fucking Sam Raimi directed SCP movie would be awesome.
Yeah, I would love that.
I would
That would
sit
also be
and
quite nice.
appreciate it. I wouldn't watch it, but I'd appreciate it.
Bro.
Also, here's another question directed at people who've read SCPs, because I know occasionally, bad ones slip in there, and they have taken some off or forced certain ones to be edited. But what's some SCP tropes, or just an SCP that you read that you just don't really like?
That's a tough one, because the ones that I'm like very familiar with are, like the ones I like in general are Mal-O. I don't remember the number, and the I think it's I don't want to say it's the one who is many, but it's like they're pack hunters that can mimic any voice.
Mm-hmm.
I
really like those ones.
I think I guess like the two things I have a problem like trope wise is over redaction. I think you need to be like really specific on what you're redacting. You can't just black out a whole paragraph. Oh, look how mysterious and weird it is. You can't know about it. Like it needs to be like obviously if it's too gory or not, you do data expunge to do some normal things. You shouldn't have big blank text of redacted. You should still be able to tell what it could potentially be, not just redact. And then another thing is people trying to outdo themselves on Keter. Like it's like, this is SCP 42069. It's a Keter, and like you have to keep it in a titanium box, dipped in pure acid. If you look at it, they have to terminate you immediately, and it needs to be fed 200 D class per second.
Yeah, it's I don't like when they go overboard
Sergio.
with that.
What?
The Emperor of Mankind is a fucking Keter class.
Basically, I know that there.
You
Sorry, I
have to
didn't
feed him
mean to cut
1,000 D class every day, or else he will get angry.
There are joke SCPs. They're labeled J, and there's one that's like SCP like 100,000, and it's what I described. Yeah, I just found it. Yeah, I'm putting it in general.
SCP 100,000 J.
Yeah, 100,000 J. It's
Keter.
Keterist.
The Keterist.
The sarcophagus must be set in a hermetically sealed outer sarcophagus filled with no more and no less than 50 copies each of the following religious scriptures: the Bible, the Quran, the Torah, the Tao Te Ching, the Book of Mormon, the Bhagavad Gita, the Satanic Bible by Anton LaVey, amongst others.
The Necronomicon. And the God Delusion.
Yeah,
I just think it's...
I was just waiting for something like totally not religious to be stuck in
Alright,
there.
this is my favorite part. TP30 Ubertoten is to be carried out as follows. 1. Subject will be incinerated. 2. Subject's ashes will be double incinerated. 3. Incinerator used on subject will be incinerated. 4. Subject's ashes will be soaked in bleach for 5 hours. 5. The bleach ash solution will be subjected to 500 crads of gamma radiation. 6. The irradiated bleach ash solution will be locked in a hermetically sealed capsule. 7. The hermetically sealed capsule will be encased in a block of solid concrete. 8. The concrete block will be painted with the Latin version of the Lord's Prayer and lamb's blood and stored. 9. Stored concrete blocks will be placed on a Foundation spacecraft twice monthly and launched to the center of the sun. 10. The sun will be angrily flipped off 4 more times monthly by all members of the O5 Council.
That's what happens if you even step into the area that 100,000 J is being held in.
My absolute favorite part of all of this is Addendum 1, 10-14. Implementation of 4,000 emergency nuclear warheads at Area 100,000 J has been determined to be too frivolous and costly, and the application has been rejected by O501. However, implementation of 3,900 emergency nuclear warheads is gaining traction. It's the basic.
Even the footnote is good, since pure titanium is gradually proving insufficient as a means of containment of SCP-1000. The construction of a prototype containment cell out of carbon nanotube weave reinforced with alternating diamond, adamantium, and neutronium layers is underway. Very, very excessive. I love it.
Not to mention it can infect a populated area of 50 square kilometers every nanosecond.
I think the most boring ones for me are the ones where there's just nothing really unsettling or unnerving at all to consider in the slightest.
Yeah.
Oh, look, it's a lipstick, and it makes your lips fall off.
I think I think my favorite ones are like kind of the weird, quirky ones that are out there, like the Infinite IKEA.
It's a mirror, and it makes you look fat.
Call those funny mirrors. They're safe.
Oh.
I mean, like some of the the quirkier one. I think the ones that bore me the most are the ones that are like too simple. Like there's ones that are just like, yeah, it's a rock that if you touch it, it flips your gender. I'm like, that's cool, I guess. And then there's like the ones that are like a little bit have a little bit more thought put into them, like like the good old classic shy guy who's literally just I'm gonna kill you if you look at me.
I will say though, I think the SCP 1000 series from 0 to 1000, a lot of them are kind of missed. Like they were still trying to figure things out, so a lot of them are like, it's a motherboard and it's made of organic parts. Isn't that kooky? Or oh, it's a floppy drive and it gives you unlimited fetishes. I didn't make that up. That's an actual one. I can't remember.
It's a mirror, and when you look
Amazing.
in the mirror, you get an evil mustache in real
Oh,
life.
that reminds me, does anyone remember the horror movie Oculus about the evil mirror and it started carrying?
Yes.
In? That's an SCP.
Definitely. Not a particularly great one. I have a hot take.
The evil mirror.
Okay.
Here's my hot take. I don't like the SCPs where I don't know how to describe it. It's like there's interactions with the viewer going on in the page. You know what I'm saying?
I know
What do you
exactly.
mean?
Yeah, I don't like.
It's like they have
fourth
something
wall breaking.
coded specifically to like do things when you're like looking at the page, or like, you know, it breaks the fourth wall too much, that sort of thing. I hate that.
I
It
know
becomes so
there's-
boring.
I know there's an SCP-1 proposal that proposes that SCP-1 is the members of the SCP Wiki, and that the SCP universe is aware that they're having all this shit inflicted upon them by horror writers. It does come off like, oh look at me, it's a meta narrative. Look how crazy and kooky this is. Like we're the SCP-1, and it's like,
It's kind of kooky.
Also, I think this episode is starting to get really, really long.
Yeah, it's
So
a
I feel
Halloween
like-
special. Who cares? People are at home.
That's true.
Yeah,
I
I've,
actually won't be home on Halloween. I'm going to my brother's.
I will be home.
I'll be working.
Oh, jeez.
I'm gonna be peeing in my brother's bathroom the whole day.
So before we close off this episode, this fun Halloween episode, real quick, I want everyone to just either shout out their favorite SCP or give me an SCP of your own crazy creation.
my favorite one is one that I listed on here. It is A35, Expunge Data Release.
What is it?
835.
Describe it in 2 sentences.
Coral that assimilates human life forms.
That's not 2 sentences, you fuck
2
boy.
sentences. I thought 2 words is what you. I read that as 2.
That also
You-
isn't 2 words.
I know.
You read that verbally.
Okay, basically, I'll just give the gist of why I like it. You read it through once, and you're like, huh, I guess that's kind of a creepy thing. And then at the bottom, it sends you to another page where it like unredacts the document so you can see like what was uncensored, and then you slowly realize the horror of what this thing actually is. Because like at first you're like, oh, that's kind of creepy, and then you go, oh.
Oh, really? Oh, yeah, you can see, by special order of the 0511, all expunged data files pertaining to this report are hereby released for general viewing.
Mine is the toaster.
The toaster, what's the toaster do? Describe to me in 2 sentences.
The toaster makes you think you are the toaster. You try to shove bread in your holes.
Okay, how many holes does a
Amazing.
human have?
I mean, you could find out real quick.
That is true.
My favorite SCP is SCP-231. It's probably one of the more famous ones. Not as famous as 173 or O96. It is dark. Dark. Darker than I'm willing to explain at the moment, but we talked about it a little earlier.
Oh, is that the mother?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, yeah. So the mother of the god that's gonna kill everything.
And as a quick
Gotcha.
aside, it is the best example of data expungement I've ever seen, because it actually seems like they typed everything out and then they expunged the data later. Instead of just putting in expungements randomly.
Interesting.
That's super cool.
What about
Kai,
you?
what's your
Colbert?
favorite SCP?
What's your thing?
I don't really have a favorite. I think I have a list, like a top few list.
Could
But
just be
I
like-
really enjoy SCP-342, which was one of the other ones that I might have read if we had time. And basically, it's like it's a public transport ticket that will bend to like whatever form is closest to its current location, and then you see crazy shit when you use this ticket, and then you die. And I just like the different narratives in it.
That's neat.
It's a little rough around the edges, and I think that goes back to what we were saying earlier about how
The
the
one that
ones
being a little kooky.
Yeah. Exactly. But I think it's pretty cool. And then it's also just like personally kind of horrifying to me because I used to do train rides a lot. So there we go.
You know,
I-
that counted as 2 sentences. I was writing the sentences in my brain, and there were a lot of commas, but that was 2 sentences, so you win.
Yay!
I already
I will-
said my favorites, so. But I
I'll-
will.
Hmm?
What?
So I was just gonna say I would also shout out the 3000 series because I was reading SCPs when they were like the 3000 series was coming out, and basically when the series come out they like everyone does a bunch of like for example 3000 proposals, and then the winner gets to be 3000 and the other ones get to be just random in the ones. I recommend 3001 Red Reality, which I think should have been 3000. The current 3000 is good, but I don't think it should have won. In my opinion. 3008 is the IKEA. I did remember reading that one when it was a proposal.
Gotcha. I was, as I was saying, I already kind of said my 2 favorites, but there are a few other ones that I really like. Aside from the bookends, there is the very wholesome SCP-999, aka the Tickle Monster. He is just a blob who chills out and vibes. I love him very much. And the other one, aside from those ones, I think is it's one of the more popular ones. I forget you can't say its number. That's what I remember. It is like you can't say the number of the SCP because that will it's bad and you shouldn't do that. But I don't know how I can find the very popular SCPs.
I have on the list 3999, which is an interesting one. It's like this like 5th dimensional entity that keeps fucking with this guy named Researcher Talaran, and like he gives it some of his powers. So Talaran and the monster have like this battle of wills where they're fucking around in the document. Like it's like I make Talaran's organs all jelly. It's like, oh yeah, well I'm gonna do this to you, and at the end it's just like all was left was Researcher Talaran. He won.
You won.
I don't remember what it was called, but it was an SCP that you couldn't say the number of, you couldn't even describe, otherwise like at least you couldn't describe with words. You can like, and the way that they described it was instead of using words, they used just a picture of vaguely kind of describing the SCP. I don't remember what it was though, and that's what bothers me a lot. Top rated new pages, that's definitely all right. I think I can probably find it on best. Let me just look up best SCPs, and I will tell you what the number is.
I mean, considering
It
its
is-
content, should we unleash the number upon our viewers?
Don't say the number because that would make it not canon, but it is listed as dot 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 dot.
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, you can only describe it through like basic shapes and pictures. You cannot save you cannot talk about it, you cannot save information about it in written form, and you cannot write it down. You cannot show it to, you can only show any information to level 4 and 05 members. The creature in question is has a lot of like weird appendages.
Yeah,
it looks like it's also very sticky,
I
and
po-
even phase through walls.
Yeah, I posted a link to it. The article is all images.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's I purely like it simply because it's very different compared to the other SCPs. So like in the
Yeah.
testing, you can see that they show a D class the picture, and then they ask him to write it down, and then the creature comes in, takes the document, and leaves. But but instead of the SCP, it asks for the information for the person to describe exactly what is being shown.
He likes having fan fiction written about him.
Yeah,
yeah.
I just think he's a really cool and unique SCP.
That he is. That he
Alright, I
is.
think we should wrap it up, and I'm not just saying that because I have to use the bathroom really badly.
Yeah,
I gotta say that.
Kai also has class in the morning, and we've kept him up
Yes.
where he
Yeah.
said go to bed.
That's true.
So with that being said, thank
Happy
you for
Halloween.
listening. Yeah, thank you for listening. Happy Halloween. And
Well,
we'll see you guys again next week when we come back with Randy. Blade Randy.
Randy Puff is an SCP.